to hear a word from God, it's time to go into the word of God and present a seasoned meat for the mature believers. So we find ourselves in this hour in Exodus chapter number 4, and we're reading according to the details of a man by the name of Moses. Beloved, believe it or not, Moses is indicative of many of us who have gathered in this church today. Somebody asked me how. Because many of us, as we enter into this Thanksgiving season, we are in a posture where we struggle to find a reason to give God thanks for many things that are going on in our lives. We preach and we shouted and we clapped when the preacher said that in everything give God thanks, for it's the will of God concerning us. And we got happy and we clapped our hands, but I've come to believe that many of us lied in the sanctuary. It sounds good to say, I will give God thanks, but it's a hard thing to actually work it out. We find ourselves oftentimes wondering, God, where am I? And God, why do you have me where I am?
All right.
When we look at the story of a man named Moses, God begins to call Moses and to give him and gives him an assignment. Moses, like many of us that are gathered here today, suffered from systematic amnesia. I feel my preacher right about now.
All right, all right.
How, preacher, do we suffer from systematic amnesia? Because God begins to speak to Moses and tell Moses what he wants him to do. And Moses begins to speak to God and say, I can't do it. So God speaks unto Moses and Moses, what is it that you have in your hand?
All right.
Moses, in his ignorance, bishop says, I have nothing more but a rod. When I began to study and see the symbolism of the rod, Moses didn't understand what he really had. People of God, sometimes we come into the house of God and we're in a posture of depression and oppression. We're in a posture of ingratitude that God has done nothing. But we suffer from systematic amnesia. How, Bishop, do we have amnesia? First, we must understand the purpose of the rod. Here it is, Bishop. Moses walked with a walking stick. And when the shepherd walked with a stick, well, what he would do whenever he would come into an altercation where the bears would try to kill his sheep and he would destroy the bears, he would take the rod and mark. When you walk into another circumstance and God delivered him from another circumstance, he would take his rod. When he would walk in, God would spare his life before he would call Lottie, Dottie, and everybody and tell his testimony or testimony. He would take his rod and so when God speaks unto Moses and says, what is it that you have in your hand? You have more than just a walking stick. You have more than just a rod that you can show to other people. You have the history of what God has done in your life. So how do I progress during this Thanksgiving season? How do I progress with an attitude to give God glory in everything? My first point is, don't you forget your purpose. Sometimes we feel that our purpose is to look good and to sit in the pulpit picture. Sometimes we think our purpose is to show what God has done for us by the latest suit and the finest car. But I've come with another theological perspective. I teach my people I don't have a purpose, but I'm on purpose. I wish I had a couple of believers that will say I don't just have a purpose, but I'm on purpose. I can give God praise because no matter what I've gone through, it's not a mistake, but I'm on purpose. How do I know that I'm on purpose? The Bible says that the steps of a good man are ordered by God. So no matter what I'm in, I can give God praise. Why? Because he walks with me and he talks with me and don't you forget your purpose. And when you remember that you're on purpose, my second point to you is, don't you forget or don't you fret your process. One of the things that messes up, Cook, that keeps us struggling to move forward, is that we are fretful and fearful of what's called a process.
Come on, Bishop.
God, I wish I got 7 minutes. I got to run it off. What do you mean by the process? Moses, in another part of the text, Pastor, he said, God, I can't do this thing because I don't speak well. There's a stutter in my mouth. His stutter didn't matter.
No. Stutter your way through me.
Come close, come close, come close. I've come to tell everyone in this church, your stutter doesn't matter.
Yes.
When we study speech pathology, speech impediments normally onset around the age of 3 years old. So Moses' stutter was in him when God called him. So when he called him, stutter was in him. When he proved him, stutter was in him. When he sanctified him, stutter was in him. So the stutter may be new to you, but God already knew what was in you. When he called you, look at your neighbor and say, God knew what I was, but he chose me. God knew I would mess up, but he chose me. God knew I was wrong, but he chose me. So I say, don't you forget your purpose. Don't you fret your process. And don't you forfeit your promise. As I begin to saddle up and go to my seat. Because my time is almost up. But I get to the place where I say, God, I won't fret my process. I say, God, I won't be fearful of my purpose. But God said, Samuel, don't you forfeit your promise. How do you forfeit your promise? Don't you let life circumstances and a whole bunch of crazy people to cause you to act in your emotions. When God calls you to be spiritual, what do you mean, preacher? The Bible says, God speaks unto Moses, what do you have? I have a rod. Throw it on the ground. He throws it on the ground. God then gives him a crazy directive.
Come on, Bishop. You're in the book.
Pick it up by the tail. Hold up, God. You ever been in a posture where God has spoken to you and said, God, you tripping? By the tail. Anyone that handles snakes knows you grab it by the head. Because if you got it by the head, it can't bite you. But God says, pick it up by the tail. Why would God tell me, tell you, tell us to pick it up by the tail? People of God, we are in the season where we can no longer operate according to our logic. We can no longer operate according to what makes sense. But we're in the season where we got to function on faith. Because it's the same God that brought me through. If he says jump, I'm going to jump. If he says run, I'm going to run. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time to pick it up by the tail. It seems risky, but I'm going to obey God. It seems deadly, but I'm going to obey God. If you take it to the hip, trust and obey. For there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey.